Hello everyone, you're watching the channel Stories of Our Life. Friends, make yourselves comfortable. I wish you to truly enjoy listening to this life story.
They say that wives are the last to find out about their husband's affairs. That's exactly what happened to Mabel. She found out about the mistress last. When Kevin said he was leaving her, she didn't immediately understand where, why, and for what reason he was leaving. "I'm leaving you, Mabel. The kids have grown up, they don't need me anymore, so there's no point in tolerating each other," Kevin said like that. But did she tolerate him? Mabel loves her husband. Maybe not with the passionate love shown in TV shows, but she loved him with care and attention. Mabel listened to him at the table while serving dinner and always supported him, even when he was wrong. Didn't he see how much she loved him? So why is Kevin leaving now when Mabel is 49 years old? What is he missing in the family? Mabel is a wonderful homemaker, her house is always clean, and delicious food is prepared. She has also taught her daughters to maintain a cozy home. True, Tyler, the youngest son, is lazy, but he's just a boy, these things happen with them. "Kevin, where are you going?" "Your home is here," Mabel said to her husband. She didn't clarify whether he was leaving for someone else or just leaving her. She didn't want to know about it. She wanted to give a chance to both herself and Kevin to leave everything as it is. And when he says that he's leaving for another woman and even mentions her name, then the chances will diminish by many times. "Mabel, I have somewhere to go. I pretended my whole life for the sake of our children. I pretended, but now I don't want to. I don't love you, and I never did. You know yourself that we got married because of your pregnancy." Kevin didn't spare her and hurt her deeply with his words. So he decided definitively that he wouldn't stay in the family. "Why, Kevin? You could have waited for Tyler to return from the army, then leave. How can I tell him that you've left us? You know what such news can lead to when there's a weapon in their hands." "Shut up." Kevin suddenly burst out, "Are you going to blackmail me with our son? Stop lecturing me. I'm tired of your moralizing. Teach your students at school, but leave me alone. You're confusing school and home, darling. I'm not your student. I wanted to leave tomorrow, but I'll leave today. I can't stand seeing you." Mabel walked up to the window and looked into the distance at the treetops. She stood there and watched. It was easier for her to hold back the tears that welled up and tried to choke Mabel's pride. She always did this. Trees always saved her from humiliating tears, but not today. Kevin paced around the apartment, packing his things. Unconsciously, Mabel started helping Kevin. She took out his clothes from the closet and neatly folded them. When she did something with meticulous perfection, her thoughts organized themselves, and she could analyze what was happening. She considered it the storeroom of her mathematical thinking, as she taught this subject at school. Mathematics loves order and precision, and Mabel needed it now more than ever. Kevin snatched the neatly folded clothes from her hands and forcefully stuffed them into his travel bag. "This is where you reveal your true self, cold and calculating mathematician," her husband reproached her. "I'm leaving, and you neatly pack my shirts. Any other woman would have already caused a scene and begged me to stay. Your composure suffocates me." "Kevin, what good would it do if I started a tantrum? Would it make you stay?" "No, it wouldn't," Kevin replied. "But I would feel guilty towards you. As it is, I'm leaving you with pleasure and a light heart. And why don't you ask where I'm going and who I'm going to?" "What's there to ask? It's already clear. You've decided to leave, so go," Mabel said, hoping Kevin would remain silent. To be honest, Mabel had already received enough unpleasant news in one day. But Kevin didn't stay silent. "I'm leaving you for Pamela," Kevin said and smirked maliciously. Mabel thought it was a cruel joke. She blinked her eyes in confusion. Some chaos in her mind mixed and tried to come out, causing excruciating headaches. "Why are you staring like a frozen fish?" "Yes, I'm going to Pamela," Kevin said, picked up the bags with the packages, and left the house. Mabel wanted to shout after him, "What about Pamela's husband, Louis? Where will you put him?" As if she cared. But she didn't shout anything to anyone. There was no one to shout to. The children would return from the university in the evening. That's what Mabel needed to think about. She had to think about how to explain to her daughters where their father had gone. But she had to tell the truth. They were already adults. Tina would finish her studies this year, and Edna would graduate from university in 2 years. Mabel didn't want to humiliate their father in the eyes of her daughters. They loved him, and Kevin loved them. There was only one problem. As he left, Kevin didn't even mention the girls or tell Mabel how she should handle the situation with the daughters. He left, as it seemed to her, with ease. And she had to bear all the consequences herself. "Daddy won't be in our lives anymore," Mabel said softly. "He left for another woman." For now, she decided not to tell the girls that he went to Pamela, Tina's godmother. Her daughters looked at her in shock, as if she had announced their father's death. "No, girls, my dears, Daddy loves you. Of course, he will still communicate with you. That's how life goes. But I ask you not to mention it to Tyler. Let him serve in the army without any disturbance. He already has it hard there." "Okay, we won't tell Tyler," Tina promised. "Mom, don't be too upset. Maybe he'll change his mind and come back to us. That also happens." Mabel couldn't hold back the tears, and they began to flow freely. "Forgive me, children," Mabel cried. "Forgive me for not being able to hold on to your father." "Oh, Mom, what are you saying?" Edna hugged her mother. "He's the traitor, and you blame yourself? Don't cry, Mommy." Tina gently stroked her mother's head and said, "Mom, do you know where he went? I'll go to him tomorrow and talk." "No, I don't know," Mabel lied. "There's no need to go anywhere." Mabel sat on the bed, wiped her tear-swollen face with a handkerchief, and said, "He's a grown man, and I hope he knows what he's doing." When the daughters fell asleep, Mabel went to her bedroom. It would be the first time she would sleep without Kevin. Of course, when he was on business trips, she slept alone, but it was a different feeling. She knew he was working, that he would return. She was waiting for him. Mabel caressed Kevin's pillow, then buried her face in it. The pillow smelled like her husband. Mabel embraced the pillow as if she were hugging her husband and started crying again. She cried for a long time until suddenly anger overwhelmed her. She nervously started removing the pillowcase from her husband's pillow, and then she stripped the entire bedding from the bed and replaced it with clean sheets. I hate him," Mabel whispered as she made the bed with fresh linen. Her heart told her the opposite. It loved Kevin even more than before. Hatred and love intertwined in Mabel's soul. She couldn't fall asleep for a long time, analyzing how it happened that her Kevin was lured away by that chubby Pamela. What did she have that Mabel didn't? Maybe it's just an infatuation? Mabel comforted herself. At this age, men want to feel like men, and Pamela happened to be there. Perhaps Kevin will compare Mabel and Pamela and realize that Pamela falls short as a wife. After all, a lover is one thing, and a wife is something completely different. And then? What then? Will she forgive this affair? Right now, they're probably indulging in love with Pamela, and Mabel has cried her eyes out. Will she forgive all of this? Falling asleep, Mabel decided that if Kevin returned to her, she would forgive him. Mabel could see that Pamela was a beautiful woman. She had unusual eyes, almond-shaped, with a mischievous squint. The color of her eyes was such that the pupils got lost, making her eyes look unreal. And when Pamela drank alcohol, it seemed that sparks lit up in her eyes. She had plump, juicy lips. Pamela dressed brightly. She wore necklaces, earrings, and bracelets. It must be admitted, it all suited her. And what about Mabel? In short, she was a teacher. She didn't wear any makeup except for lipstick. She had 2 business suits, gray and olive. Even for parties, Mabel had 2 dresses, a blue one with a white lace collar and a green sheath dress. Mabel's appearance was ordinary, not a beauty, but not ugly either. However, her figure was statuesque, long legs and beautiful arms, and her hair was magnificent, which she braided in a crown around her head. And she was so elegant, with good posture. A true aristocrat. At school, she was respected. And on the street where Mabel grew up, she was also respected. The teacher was the most respected profession. Mabel wore this title with pride and was well aware of her strengths and weaknesses. Mabel and Pamela are such opposites that they cannot be compared. If Mabel was respected, including by men, then men drools over Pamela. It all depended on Pamela herself and how she behaved with men. She treated everyone the same in their company, joked, laughed, and supported their jokes, but nothing more. Once, Mabel thought she saw her husband embracing Pamela. It was her cousin's birthday celebration. The men went outside to smoke in the yard, and Pamela was the only woman smoking. Mabel's husband got quite drunk that evening, and she was spying on him. She called him to go home, but he wanted to continue having fun. All the smokers went inside the house, except Pamela and her husband. Mabel went to check if her husband had fallen asleep somewhere in the yard. They were standing in the shadow of the trees. When Mabel approached them, she heard as if Pamela pushed Kevin away from her. "I'm drunk," Kevin said, seeing Mabel. "I stumbled. It's good that Pamela held me." "Mabel, let's go home, I'm not in a state to continue." It was then that Mabel understood that they had embraced. At that moment, no doubts crept into her mind. After classes, Mabel decided to visit Kevin's sister, talk, and seek advice on what to do, how to live further. Perhaps the sister would influence her brother, and he would reconsider and return to the family. "He left after all," his sister said, listening to Mabel. "He struggled, and broke free." "What do you mean struggled?" Mabel didn't understand. "Yes, ever since he found out about this girl, from the very first days, he wanted to leave for her. Our late mother restrained him. She said that if he left for Pamela, she would no longer consider him her son. She said that you are a rare woman. And there are plenty of women like Pamela. What else did he need? A wonderful family, smart children." "Ugh. He's just a driver, he's not even worth your little finger, Mabel." Kevin loved our mother very much, so he held back from leaving for Pamela, afraid that mother would disown him. Our mother had such a strict character, you know. "So, Mabel, I'm not here to help you. He won't come back, so don't call him." "But I hoped that maybe he had a temporary madness and he would come to his senses," Mabel said sadly. "He won't come back. He's with her for life. Mabel, to prevent you from getting your hopes up and to get over it once and for all, I'll tell you the truth. He didn't want to marry you. But you got pregnant, and back then, Mother asked if Kevin was your first." Hearing a positive answer, Mom started praising you for saving yourself and being serious with other men. She wouldn't let Kevin scatter grandchildren around. That's how Kevin married you, by Mom's order. But when he met Pamela, he got attached to her. So, Mabel, forget about them. Mom is no longer here, there's no one to restrain Kevin." Mabel didn't want to go home. Everything there reminded her of Kevin. Life had been lived. Her best years were spent alongside Kevin. She caught herself thinking, the best years were spent alongside Kevin, not together, but alongside, as if they were neighbors. Perhaps that's what it was, and she nourished herself with the illusion of having a real family. It turned out that her husband's heart wasn't with her and their children, but with Pamela. How did this woman infiltrate their family? Pamela was the friend of Mabel's cousin. Mabel and Kevin met Pamela and her husband Louis when they were invited for Christmas. Mabel felt like an unfulfilled woman. Yes, she was respected as a person, as a teacher, but no man loved her. Throughout her life, not a single man not only fell in love with her but even became interested in her. In the 10th grade, Mabel fell in love with a classmate, but it was an unrequited, agonizing love. Then, when she entered the pedagogical institute, her studies consumed her. All feelings faded away. Mabel envied her classmates who went on dates, to dances. No one invited Mabel anywhere. Her school friend got married right after school and moved to another city. Mabel was left orphaned without her. There were no romantic adventures in her youth. Everything changed when Kevin appeared. At that time, Mabel was already teaching mathematics in school. Mabel immediately liked Kevin. He worked as a long-haul truck driver. He was handsome and cheerful. For some reason, she liked his big hands. She was drawn to his strong hands. She desired for those strong hands to hold her, to caress her. She didn't care that she was a teacher and what people would say when they found out about her intimacy with Kevin. Somehow, Kevin sensed Mabel's attraction to him and responded to the girl's desire. And then it repeated for 2 months, and Mabel considered herself the happiest woman. But what happened? It turned out that he simply used Mabel like a toothbrush or any other hygiene item. Kevin had no feelings. He didn't even want to marry her. Tina and Edna, the daughters, were already home. They tidied up the house, prepared dinner, and waited for their mom. They wanted to support her in every way, but they didn't know how exactly. Mabel felt that her daughters pitied her. That's who loved her, her little girls. Would they face a similar fate of being unloved? My little women, she thought about her daughters, how sorry I am to release you into the cruel world of men. Unloved, the most hurtful word for a woman. Soon Tina is getting married after finishing college. How will her life turn out? Only God knows. In 3 months, she will receive her diploma, and her father has decided to pursue his own personal life. Mabel feels so ashamed in front of everyone. Mabel started avoiding neighbors and acquaintances so that they wouldn't ask about Kevin's departure, sympathize, give advice, or scold Kevin. That's not what Mabel wanted. So she began to avoid people. If she sees someone familiar approaching, she immediately crosses to the other side of the street. Mabel doesn't want people meddling in her life. Her own life, you could say, has been lived without love. Her heart aches more for her children than for herself. Tyler will return from the army in 7 months, and she will have to answer to her son for his father's actions. Tyler loves him, and his father is the most important person to him, even more important than Mabel. She was just glad to see such friendship and love between her son and father. Everything is so complicated. Kevin disappeared, and Mabel doesn't even know where he lives now. She has to deal with all of this herself, Mabel. He is building his new personal life at 52, while she concluded her personal life at 49. And then the children will leave, they will start their own families, and she will be alone. Mom, Uncle Louis is here, Edna said. He's sitting on the bench in the yard. Well, why doesn't he come inside? Mabel asked, surprised. He says you should come out to him. Hello, Louis, Mabel said and turned away. It was unusual to see a crying man. Hello, Louis replied, wiping his tears. How are we going to live, Mabel? Mabel remained silent. She wasn't prepared for the fact that she would have to listen to and console Louis. What have they done to us? Louis continued. Did you know that all the time they lived with us, they didn't love us? Without waiting for an answer, he continued, for example, I had no idea. It's a real shock to me. I didn't know, Mabel replied. I didn't know anything, I had no suspicions. I suspected Pamela of infidelity. But I didn't know who she was fooling around with. I didn't want to break up the family, we have a daughter, and I still love that creature. Louis, why are we talking about this? Just wait. Are you ready to simply let Kevin go to another woman? We have to fight, we can't give up. If we unite, maybe we can win them back. We're not at an age, Mabel, to start our lives over. I won't try to win him back. I'll endure all this filth, but I won't try to win him back. You're proud, Mabel. Proud all your life, maybe that's why your Kevin noticed my easygoing and naive Pamela. I don't want to lose her to another man, and Louis started crying again. Mabel didn't know what else to say to him, so she said, Louis, go home, you need to rest. I came here to discuss the problem with you, and you're sending me home. There's something else I want to tell you, maybe you're not aware of it, and Louis burst into loud sobs. Louis had worn out his welcome with Mabel, and his drunken tears irritated her. She didn't know how to get rid of the persistent guest. It turns out my daughter Carol isn't mine, she's Kevin's. That bitch confessed everything to me when she was leaving. Mabel's legs went weak. She sat down on the bench next to Louis. But I won't give Carol to them. Louis was already shouting. She's my daughter, period. Pamela told our girl who her real father is. Poor Carol. She hugged me and cried. She said that I am her only father. She didn't go to live with those monsters, she stayed with me. Thank God, Carol is already 16, and she has the right to decide where and with whom she wants to live. Mabel was shocked by such news. It turns out that Kevin and Pamela are not only connected by their bed but also by their shared daughter. Goodness, she had to endure this too. Louis, you need to quit drinking, or Carol will go to her mother. Think about how she feels right now. Her mother betrayed the family and left with another man, and on top of that, she finds out that you're not her father. And seeing you constantly drunk is not the best for her. This won't end well. She's still a teenager. Everything that has happened to her is too much. You're turning into a teacher. It's too late for you to teach me, Mabel. You know what? Let's start a romance too. Let's show those bastards. Maybe we'll like each other, and we can make something work between us. Louis moved closer to Mabel and hugged her. Have you gone mad? Mabel pushed him away. And here I was thinking, why did you dress up like a groom? You just wanted to keep up with your wife. Maybe they'll come to their senses and come running back, afraid that we could be happy too. What are you saying? Do I look like someone you can start a romance with? Too bad, Louis sighed in disappointment. You don't have any spark, Mabel. It could have been great. They over there, and us here. That's enough, Mabel got angry. Go home and think about the nonsense you've been talking. Don't ever come to me with such proposals again. Do you know where they're living now? Louis asked. I don't know, and I don't want to know, Mabel sternly replied. In Pamela's apartment. Remember, just in case you need the address. Maybe you'll want to pay them a visit. Louis smirked, stood up from the bench, and walked towards the exit of the courtyard. As he was leaving, he turned around and said, I wouldn't mind living with you, Mabel. I do mind, Mabel replied and closed the gate behind the guest. Mom, I heard everything, Tina said. I overheard you and Uncle Louis. I know it's at least inappropriate, but when I was hanging the laundry, I heard that Dad is living with my godmother. That's when I decided to listen to everything until the end. And why hide it from us? Sooner or later, Edna, Tyler, and I would have found out anyway. It's better to know earlier, so it won't be like it is for you. You lived with Dad for so many years and didn't know that he was with Pamela all that time. He is still your father. That's how he is, there's no other. It's a shame we can't change fathers like he changed wives. My dear, why would you say something like that? That's what I think, Mom. Edna and I are hurt too, just like you. He left, and it's as if we don't exist. He didn't even explain his departure to us. He just vanished. Turns out, Carol is our sister. Dad made a lot of mistakes. I wrote down the address, Edna and I will visit him. We'll see how the lovebirds live and hear what our dear father has to say to us. Tina, you and Edna are grown girls. I hope you won't do anything foolish. The biggest foolishness is our dad. Maybe Edna and I aren't into him. And we'll see how Tyler takes this news about Dad's infidelity later. Maybe Dad will win him over to his side. Dad has always been and will always be the priority for Tyler. Tina, if you and Edna go to your father, don't mention the nonsense Uncle Louis was talking about. He made those unworthy propositions out of desperation, and besides, he was drunk. What a sober person thinks, a drunk person speaks, Tina remarked. Don't worry, Mom, we'll skip that topic. But I won't keep silent about Carol being our sister. Let him know that we're aware of his infidelity. Let him answer for everything to us. Kevin was not used to seeing his beloved all the time. It felt like paradise to him. His Pamela became truly his and no one else's. He could openly kiss and embrace her without hiding like before. He could spend hours talking to her without rushing, as there was hardly any time for conversations when Pamela was busy with Louis, their daughter, their shared daughter. But amidst all this happiness, there was a problem. Kevin missed his daughters. He felt like a betrayer when it came to them. He was torn by conflicting feelings. He wanted to see Edna and Mabel, and at the same time, he was afraid to meet them. He avoided Mabel and didn't consider that his daughters and son were part of his wife Mabel, and they would be on their abandoned mother's side. And now, the more he postponed the meeting with his girls, the more he felt like a coward in front of them. But Carol, she was also his daughter, from the woman he loved, and Kevin didn't feel any pain for her. Why was that? Perhaps because Carol didn't consider him her father and saw Louis as her father instead? It turns out that the saying is true, a father is not the one who gives birth, but the one who raises. The doorbell rang. Perhaps it's Carol, Pamela said happily and swung open the front door. Hello, Edna and Tina said almost simultaneously. Hello, Pamela replied, bewildered, as she let the girls into the apartment. Is Dad home? Tina asked. Now his home is here. He's home. Come in, girls, Pamela greeted the guests with an unnaturally joyful tone. We were about to have dinner. We thought it was Carol who had come. Kevin came out into the hallway and interrupted Pamela's forcefully cheerful speech, which sounded fake from the outside. I'm home. Hello, my darlings, come in, the father rushed to hug his daughters. We don't need that, Tina said sternly, pushing her father aside. Edna stood there silently. She neither hugged her father nor pushed him away. She didn't know how to behave at all. We came to put an end to an unfinished affair, Tina smirked, taking a seat on the sofa in the living room. Edna sat next to her sister and held her hand. Tina squeezed her sister's trembling, cold hand, as if saying, Don't be afraid, I'm with you, I'm your sister, and I'm here for you. I miss you, Kevin said. His eyes sparkled with hope that his daughters would understand and forgive him. How sweet, Tina replied. We suspected that our dear daddy would miss us, so we decided to pay him a visit. Our dear daddy forgot the way to his daughters. You were so happy to run to your mistress that you forgot about your children. You forgot that you also had to inform them that mistresses can be more important than wives and children. Well, we're not proud, we came here to congratulate our daddy and my godmother. Will our sister Carol come? It would be great to gather here as one big and happy family. Perhaps, Daddy, you have more children hidden somewhere? I wouldn't be surprised if that turned out to be the case. Be quiet, the father said sternly. You came into Pamela's house and insult her. If your mother heard this, she would be shocked. We wouldn't have come here if you, Daddy, had been able to explain your actions to us at home. We could have discussed everything as a family and settled matters there. That would have guaranteed that we wouldn't come here. But you didn't use your head, you used another part of your body. So, Daddy, listen to us, and let your beloved listen too. Edna cried and didn't let go of her sister's hand. No, please, Edna whispered softly. Tina, let's go home, please. Say thank you, Edna, that we're leaving so soon. And I wish you a happy and miserable life, Tina said angrily. As for me, I'm getting married, Daddy. So, I don't want you to be anywhere near me with your congratulations. Don't spoil my celebration. We want you to forget about our existence altogether. Live with your mistress. And you have Carol, if she even considers you her father. I hate you, Tina abruptly stood up and led Edna toward the exit. Edna, the father called out, do you hate me too? Hope could be seen in his eyes. Let's go, Edna, Tina tugged her sister's hand. Wait, Kevin said, blocking the path of his daughters. Let Edna answer for herself. Edna looked at her father with pain and disapproval. She didn't want to answer any questions, it hurt too much, and she just wanted to go home. Well, answer him, and then we'll go home. I can't bear to see them anymore, Tina said. Dad, I love you, but it hurts even more, Edna replied. I wish I could hate you instead. They left, and he heard Pamela reproaching him. This is the education from a teacher. Look at what kind of children teachers trust their own kids to. If teachers have such children, what can we say about how they educate their students? Pamela, don't make the situation worse. I'm already hurting, Kevin said. They argued. For the first time in all the time they had known each other, they had a fight, and it made Kevin feel miserable. Suddenly, he felt like a guest here and didn't know how to behave. Back with Mabel, when they had arguments, Kevin would go to the backyard and work on something. There was always work to be done in a private house, and Kevin would find it. When he returned to the house, he would wash up, Mabel would set the table, and the whole family would sit down to dinner. Everything would somehow smooth over, as if they hadn't fought at all. Mabel was not prone to holding grudges. But here, in the apartment, it was a confined space. Pamela was offended. Kevin tried to approach her with kisses and hugs, but she pushed him away. A week after the visit of Kevin's daughters, he came to his former family. No one was waiting for him or greeted him as before. Tina just looked at him and went to her room. Mabel responded to the greeting and continued preparing dinner without paying attention. Only Edna hugged her father and asked, Daddy, why did you come? If you need something, I put all your things and tools in one place. Let me show you. No need, Kevin said, sitting down on a chair and turning to Mabel. Mabel, I brought you money. You don't have to file for child support. While the girls are studying, I'll continue to provide money. Mabel remained silent. For her, this was even better, no need to run to courts and beg for money, even if it was through legal means. Kevin placed the money on the edge of the table and said, Tina told me that she's getting married. I will also give money for the wedding, although Tina forbade me from attending the ceremony. She doesn't want to see me, but she's still my daughter. So it turned out, Kevin. It's time to give away your daughters in marriage, while their father is getting married himself. How shameful. I don't know how I'll face the groom's parents when they ask about Tina's father, Mabel said. Nobody will ask you about him, Mom, Tina said, coming out of her room. I warned everyone that our father left us, so there won't be any awkward questions. Kevin longed, as before, to sit at the table with his daughters and Mabel, to have dinner and discuss their family matters. He didn't expect to miss this mundane aspect of life. However, he felt the longing and hesitated to leave. Mabel, does Tyler know about me? Kevin asked. No. He will find out when he returns from the army. Don't you dare tell him such joyful news, Mabel replied. No, of course not, Kevin answered. I actually wanted to ask you about that. He doesn't need to know for now. Kevin had nothing else to say. He needed to stand up and leave, but he sat there and couldn't find the strength to go. He had nowhere to go. Pamela had been upset for a week, not speaking to him and not seeking reconciliation. He wasn't used to this. For a whole week, he had felt like a stranger. Will you have dinner with us? Mabel offered, arranging the plates on the table. I would eat with you, Kevin replied. He longed for delicious homemade food. Pamela hadn't cooked anything during her week of anger, and he would scavenge the fridge and eat alone. He ate in such tension that each bite felt like a lump in his throat. Mabel could see that things weren't going smoothly between Kevin and Pamela, otherwise, he wouldn't be lingering here but would run to his beloved. However, she wouldn't pry into it. Neither upbringing nor pride would allow her to do so. But she felt sorry for Kevin. This is how we women are, feeling sorry for ourselves, Mabel thought. They don't feel sorry for us. They run wherever their desires take them, without thinking about wives or children, without any sympathy. but I feel sorry for him. We've spent so many years together, raising 3 adult children. It's impossible to erase all of that. Even Tina came to the table and no longer humiliated her father. They ate together as a family, discussing the girls' studies. Kevin asked about Tina's upcoming wedding plans. Surprisingly, Tina answered her father without any sarcasm or aggression. Dinner was finished, and Kevin turned to Mabel. Mabel, if there's anything that needs to be done around the house, just let me know. I'll come and take care of it. Unexpectedly, Mabel herself said, without expecting it from herself. Why bother coming, Kevin? Don't leave, stay and take care of things. She said it so simply, and that was it. Her heart was pounding loudly. It seemed like everyone at the table could hear its beats. Mabel was afraid to hear Kevin's refusal, but who would judge her for asking her own husband to stay? This was her family, and she was the one who decided whether to forgive Kevin or not. Kevin thought he heard it. The daughters exchanged glances. Tina raised her eyebrows in surprise at her mother, and Edna ran up to her father, hugged him, and whispered softly, but everyone heard, "Stay, Dad, don't leave. Tyler will be back from the army soon, and we'll be together again, just like before." He stayed. Why did he even go to Pamela? His whole conscious life, he had strived to be with Pamela. Maybe it was necessary to put an end to those relationships once and for all, to understand that his family was his children and Mabel, the modest math teacher, not the flashy, perpetually dissatisfied Pamela. His mother was right, women like Mabel were 1 in a million. Mabel should be happy that Kevin returned to the family, but she had no joy. It seemed like Mabel had forgiven Kevin, but betrayal couldn't be forgotten. Memory stubbornly brought Mabel back to those days of humiliation and hurt, reminding her that Kevin had never truly loved her. So now, did it mean he loved Mabel since he came back? Or did life with Pamela not turn out as he had dreamed? Mabel asked him to stay, and he stayed. But where was the certainty that he wouldn't resume his affair with Pamela? What if she called him, and he ran back to her again? Mabel's trust in Kevin was gone, and how could she trust someone who had betrayed her throughout their shared life? Mabel felt like everyone was discussing and judging her for forgiving Kevin, but what business was it of theirs? It was her life and her family. When curious people pried into her family affairs and inquired about Kevin's return, she understood it wasn't genuine concern but mere human curiosity. That's why she said she didn't want to discuss her love life. For this, she was considered proud. Usually, women complain about their husbands, sharing stories, but she didn't want to discuss anything, so Kevin left. Who could endure such pride for so many years? Rumors reached Mabel, but she tried not to react to them. It was hurtful, of course, but you couldn't hide from people. Thankfully, she had to prepare for Tina's wedding, so thoughts and tasks related to that distracted Mabel from the gossip and her current relationship with Kevin. You couldn't say that Kevin felt guilty because he behaved just as before, prior to his departure. He's not used to it, Mabel thought. He spent his whole life with her and never felt guilty. Nothing has changed in his life. It's my life that has changed completely, and I have to figure out how to live with it. If only someone could tell me how. Intimate relations with Kevin didn't bring joy to Mabel either. When she didn't know about his affair, being close to Kevin was a source of happiness for her, a confirmation of their love. Now that she knew there was no love, and it was unlikely to suddenly appear, she didn't desire intimacy with her husband. She avoided it under various pretexts, but when it did happen, Mabel didn't feel joy. On the contrary, she developed disgust towards Kevin's body. After sex, she would stand under the shower for a long time, wanting to wash away all traces of Kevin's touch, the smell of his body. She asked herself the question, why did I call him back to the family? And she answered herself, I did it for the children, for the family, so that my grandchildren would have a grandfather. The wedding preparations were in full swing. Kevin tidied up the yard and garage, while the daughters and wife did a thorough cleaning of the house. Someone knocked loudly and persistently on the window. Dad. Edna shouted, someone is knocking at the window. Go and see who it is. Kevin went outside and saw Pamela. "Hello, Kevin. Why did you leave? Do you think you can treat me like this?" Pamela smiled. "I thought you were finding solace with one of your friends. I've been searching for you in hospitals and morgues, and here you are hiding. Couldn't you bother to let me know that you're going back to your teacher?" "We're strangers now, Pamela," Kevin replied. "I returned to my family. We haven't been strangers for all these years, and we have a daughter together. And now suddenly we're strangers? You're saying something strange, Kevin. Or have you forgotten our passionate nights and now you'll live with your teacher?" "I don't need passionate nights anymore," Kevin responded. "I'm not at an age where I'd leave my family for all of that. We tried, but it didn't work out. I can't live with you, Pamela. You have an unsuitable character for a family. So, we'll continue seeing each other in secret? We've been hiding for so many years, so come back. We just had a fight. It's not like you never had a fight with Mabel, your wife. Things happen in a family, but you can't live as a guest in it. That's the point, it's about family. But we're not a family, you and I, and we won't see each other anymore. Our time is over, Pamela." "Well, suit yourself." Pamela didn't finish her sentence as Edna rushed out onto the street and said, "Dad, who's here?" Seeing Pamela, Edna became flustered, took her father's hand, and said, "Let's go home, Dad. I'll talk to her and come back." "You go, Edna. They're pulling you away by the hand, afraid you'll leave with me," Pamela said when Edna left. "They love me, and I love them," Kevin replied. "And do you love your teacher?" Pamela smirked. "Don't lie to yourself. Come back to me before it's too late." "I won't come back, and that's final." "Oh, when you get tired of scheduled sex with your wife, then you'll come running, begging for my affection. That's when I'll consider if I still need you or not. You know, I'm a passionate woman, I can't do without a man's touch, and there will be others to take your place." "Go back to Louis." "Oh, I forgot to ask you, where and with whom should I go back?" "What should I do with Louis?" "So, you won't come back? And is that your final word?" "No, I won't come back." "Will you come for your things?" "Yes, I'll collect my things." "Well, we've talked about everything." Kevin couldn't hear what Pamela was saying behind him. He disappeared behind the door and almost ran home. His throat felt dry from the unpleasant conversation with Pamela. He rushed into the kitchen to have a drink of water. Pamela came, he told Mabel, who was standing by the stove. She was worried about where I was and what was happening to me. She asked if I would come for my things or not. Mabel remained silent. "Why are you silent, Mabel?" "I heard you, Kevin. But what should I say to that?" "She invited me, but I told her that I won't go with her. Family is more important to me." "Okay," Mabel replied. "What do you mean, okay?" Kevin shouted. It was clear that he was nervous. "It's good that you understood that. Call the girls, we'll have dinner." Mabel didn't want to talk about Pamela or know what Kevin and Pamela said to each other. "I hope she won't come here anymore," Mabel said. "And without her visits, the neighbors keep gossiping about us. They've become annoying. She won't come anymore. I'll pick up my things tomorrow, and that'll be it." Pamela, smiling in a red dress, opened the door for Kevin. "Hi, I came for my things," Kevin said. "Well, come in." "Hi," Pamela replied. "You can gather your things yourself. I didn't pack them, I thought maybe you'd change your mind about living with Mabel and come back to me." Kevin silently walked into the room, opened the wardrobe, and began throwing his belongings onto the couch. Pamela approached him from behind and embraced him. He felt her firm breasts pressing against his back. The scent of her perfume and her body enticed Kevin. He turned to her, intending to push her away, resist temptation, and uphold the promise he made to his wife. But he couldn't. When he saw her unreal, alluring eyes, plump, juicy lips, and the blue vein pulsating on her neck, indicating the heat coursing through Pamela's veins, he couldn't resist. He kissed that vein that aroused him so much, her neck, her greedy lips, and forgot about everything. With Pamela, it was always like that. Once you touch her body, you forget about everything. "You're a witch," Kevin said when their bodies finished intertwining. "When will I rid myself of you, witch?" "We are meant to be together, Kevin. Haven't you realized that yet?" Pamela smiled contentedly. "I don't want to tie my life to you. I understand that we can't have a future together as a family. But when I see you and smell the scent of your body, the world around me crumbles. I can't control my thoughts or my body. You're like an incurable disease that I'm trying to cure, but to no avail. You'll ruin my life, Pamela. Stay away from me, keep your distance. Maybe then I'll heal from you," Kevin pleaded. Pamela laughed at Kevin's request and replied, "I won't cross your path. I promise. You'll come running to me on your own." "Did you enchant me?" Kevin joked. "Kevin, that's funny. Why would I need to enchant men? I have no shortage of suitors," Pamela said dismissively. The table was set, and everyone in the house was expecting guests. Mabel was nervous. It was a momentous occasion for their family. "Don't worry, Mabel," Kevin reassured her. He embraced her and whispered in her ear, "I'm with you, we're together. Calm down, everything will be fine." Mabel truly felt her husband's support. At that moment, she didn't regret taking Kevin back. She felt the strength of his presence, a solid shoulder to lean on. But on the day he brought his things back, Mabel felt that something was off about him. It seemed like he avoided her gaze and didn't want to meet her eyes. Could it be that he broke his promise and had been intimate with Pamela again? Before, Mabel didn't pay much attention and trusted her husband. Now she found it suspicious that Kevin didn't want to have dinner. And when they went to bed, Mabel heard him tossing and turning, unable to fall asleep. "This is driving me crazy," Mabel thought. "I should let go of the situation. Let everything unfold as it may." Mabel worried for no reason. Roberto's parents turned out to be just as down-to-earth as she and Kevin were. "My name is Gordon," the father introduced himself. "And this is my sister and my dear mother." Everyone got acquainted with each other, exchanged greetings, and sat down at the table to discuss where and how to celebrate the wedding, how many guests to invite, and the budget. They raised their glasses to toast to the newlyweds, and Kevin suggested, "Let's leave the young ones alone. They don't need to hear all this. It's our parental duty." Everyone agreed in unison. Tina and Edna went for a walk. "Why didn't your spouse come?" Kevin asked. Mabel nudged him under the table, signaling that if someone doesn't mention it themselves, it's best not to ask such questions. She knew that Roberto's mother had passed away 2 years ago. In her haste, Mabel had forgotten to inform Kevin about it. "Roberto's mother passed away," Gordon said. "She would have been so happy for her son, marrying a good girl from a respectable family." "I'm sorry, I didn't know," Kevin began to apologize. "It's okay, I should have mentioned it right away." "I thought you knew," Gordon replied. Gordon's mother grew tired and went home. However, they had already discussed all the important matters, and if they missed anything, they decided to address it during the wedding preparations. The men continued to celebrate their acquaintance. Their conversations became purely masculine, focusing on cars, how many and what kind of cars to hire, and perhaps even buses. Mabel quietly collected the unnecessary dishes from the table and began washing them, so as not to interrupt the men's conversation. She brewed some tea and brought it to the table. "Would you like some tea?" she asked as the hostess. "I would love some," Gordon replied. Mabel could see that Kevin had had quite a few drinks, and he wasn't in the mood for tea anymore. "Mabel, I'm drunk." "Sorry, Gordon, Mabel and I are a bit on edge." "Excuse me, I think I'll lie down. Enjoy the tea without me." "Take care, Kevin," Gordon said. "Well, we'll be in touch if anything. I'll leave you our number." Agreed, Kevin responded. And Mabel will give you our phone number. Sorry, I'm not seeing you off, Gordon. Mabel will see you out. Who am I for someone to see me off? Gordon chuckled. Go and rest. Mabel and Gordon drank tea and talked about their children, upcoming events, and where the kids ended up after college. They seemed to have covered everything, had multiple cups of tea, and Mabel walked Gordon out. Roberto warned me not to ask about Tina's father, Gordon suddenly said. He told me that he left you for another woman. Or is Kevin not Tina's father? Mabel didn't want to talk about it. Sorry. Sorry for the tactless question, Gordon tried to amend. It's okay, Mabel said. Now that we're relatives, there's nothing to hide. Kevin is the father of all 3 of my children. Yes, he left us, and I asked him to come back. And here he is. Our daughters are not married yet, and I wanted their father to be there for such an important event. Did you forgive him? Gordon asked. Mabel hadn't told anyone anything before, and now she poured out her heart. I don't know. To forgive means to forget everything, and I can't forget. Maybe not enough time has passed, they say time heals everything. And Mabel told him how Kevin had cheated on her with Pamela throughout their life together and had left her for her. Perhaps time does heal, Gordon said, but memory is stronger than time. It's impossible to erase what has already happened from it. I think you're right. You took Kevin back because of the children, didn't you? Sorry, of course. I can see that you're a worthy woman, and people like you shouldn't be left behind. People leave for all sorts of reasons. I'm not an exception. Mabel looked at Gordon in a way that conveyed the pain of this conversation without words. I'm sorry for intruding into your personal life, Mabel. I think it's time for me to go. You know, they say that when you speak to a stranger, it becomes easier. I haven't told anyone anything, kept everything to myself. There wasn't anyone around with whom I could share my feelings and experiences. But telling everyone indiscriminately leads to gossip. Yet here I am, telling you, and I don't even know why. Maybe I'm doing it to lighten my soul, or perhaps to seek advice. Sometimes an outsider can see things more clearly. And you're a man, you won't gossip. Indeed, I won't, but I want to tell you, Mabel, in secret, that men can be quite the gossipers too. Mabel smiled sadly. So, you took Kevin back because of the children? Gordon asked. Yes, because of the children. Our son is still serving in the army. He'll come back, and his father will meet him. Is that so wrong? And then our children will have children of their own, our grandchildren, and I want them to have a grandfather. I've kept that for them. Of course, it's good that the father will meet his son. But what about your son? Won't he have questions for his father about all this? Tyler doesn't know that Kevin left us. He'll find out, someone will tell him. I'm listening to you, Mabel, and I'm thinking that you've thought about everyone, your daughters, your son, and even future grandchildren. But what about yourself, Mabel? Have you thought about yourself? What about me? I'll endure. Kevin and I have 3 children together. I'll endure for them. I don't understand you. So, you're just tolerating your husband now? Pretending? I'm tolerating, Mabel honestly said. I'm pretending, trying to restore everything as it was before. But before, he cheated on you with Pamela. Are you trying to restore that too? Mabel paused, lost in thought. To be honest, I regret asking him to come back because I keep thinking that he's still seeing Pamela. He's still cheating on her. If he spent all those years with her and suddenly left her. It's hard to believe. I think he came back to us because he got used to the life he had with me. Here, I'm his wife, his children who love him, the comfort I provide. Here, he feels like a master. But with Pamela, who is he? I don't know. So, it must not be that great with her if he came back. It's one thing to share a bed, but it's another thing to share everything, hardships and joys. That's where I have doubts, and I think he returned here to live while continuing to satisfy his secret desires over there. You think that way, but you're not sure. Maybe Kevin realized that the real thing is you and your children. It happens too. So, Mabel, don't lose hope, be patient. Life will sort everything out. And I'm glad to have such a wonderful mother-in-law for my son. Thank you for everything, Mabel. No, thank you for listening to me, giving advice, and making me think. But where am I in this nightmare? What about my desires? My feelings? Or have I lost myself, dissolved? It's all so complicated. Goodbye, Gordon. Goodbye, Mabel. Roberto and Tina left 2 weeks after their wedding. Mabel and Edna couldn't hold back their tears. It was also difficult for Gordon to say goodbye to Roberto. Why didn't your sister come? Mabel asked Gordon. She's at work. She came to us last night to say goodbye to Roberto and Tina, Gordon replied. Gordon didn't ask about Kevin. Mabel mentioned it herself. And Kevin is on a business trip. He left the day before yesterday and won't be back until the end of the week. It was good that Mabel told him this, and he didn't preempt her by revealing Kevin's whereabouts. He didn't mention seeing Kevin behind the wheel when he was coming here to the station. So, Kevin didn't go anywhere. He's still deceiving Mabel. However much Gordon felt sorry for this wonderful woman, he believed that he had no right to interfere in someone else's family matters. He considers Mabel to be a smart woman, and he is confident that she knows what she's doing. The train, gaining speed, moved away, taking a piece of Mabel's soul with it. That's it, Tina had separated from the family. It's one thing to marry off your daughter but living in the same city and being able to see her, and it's another thing when her little girl will live in another city, with no one to advise or help her. Take care of Tina, Mabel whispered in Roberto's ear. I'm asking you, Roberto, don't hurt her. Everything will be fine, Roberto promised her. Don't worry. Edna rushed off to the institute, while Gordon and Mabel walked alongside each other, confused and agitated. Separating from their children was difficult. The autumn sun was no longer as high in the sky, but its soft warmth still embraced the earth. The sad scent of autumn, the departure of the young couple, everything stirred Mabel's soul, and she burst into tears. Mabel, what's the matter? Don't cry, everything is fine, Gordon tried to comfort her. Roberto and Tina are very happy, so we have no reason to be sad. I understand all that. It's just nerves. So many events have happened lately, both good and bad. Do you have any lessons today? Gordon asked. No, I'm free for today. I took the day off. Shall we go to the park, Mabel? What would you do alone at home right now? Let's walk up from the station, it's about a 10-minute walk to the park, and we can stroll around, sit in a cafe, have some tea or coffee, Gordon smiled. Have you been to the park recently? I don't remember when I was there. I guess a lot has changed, Mabel said. I don't know either. I can't remember the last time I was there. Let's go together, Gordon suggested. They sat on the terrace of a summer cafe, sipping tea with indulgent pastries. Gordon looked into Mabel's intelligent eyes, reddened from tears, at the lips she nervously bit and the slightly trembling hands. Nervousness was evident in every movement of this woman. He liked her, he pitied her. He wanted to embrace her, to reassure her and make her understand that she deserved love and attention. She deserved everything she had never had. He could have given her all that, but he didn't dare cross the line that stood between them. Mabel returned home closer to the evening. Edna came back from school right after her. Mabel always felt like the youth didn't walk but ran. Was she once the same, moving around with a run or a skip? When Mabel wasn't alone in the house, she didn't feel as lonely. Soon Tyler would return from service, and new responsibilities, new experiences would begin. Mabel understood that things were not going well with Kevin. They were simply living side by side, like neighbors. Their closeness had dwindled almost to nothing. And this closeness was burdensome for Mabel. She realized that Kevin fulfilled his sexual needs elsewhere, most likely with Pamela. It hurt so much. But the pain was not as sharp as when Kevin declared that he had never loved her. The pain had dulled, and she could endure it and live with it. There were occasional flare-ups, of course, when Mabel clearly saw Kevin boldly lying to her. But she reminded herself that she was living with him for the sake of the children and found solace in that. Why the tears again, Mabel? Kevin noticed the printed letter on the table and grew concerned. Has something happened? Tyler sent this letter, Mabel sobbed. Our Tyler got married to a woman with a child, and he won't be coming back to us. That's it. Tyler has separated from us. Edna is getting married to her military man, and he'll finish his academy next year. Our Edna will leave with her husband. It will be just you and me, Kevin. And why are you crying? What did you expect? We raised the children not for ourselves, each of them has their own life, Kevin replied. I understand. I thought someone would be there with us. Grandchildren. Mabel interrupted her speech and was horrified by the thought that soon she would be alone with Kevin, or rather, just alone. She called him here for the sake of the children. But now the children had their own lives, and Kevin had his own life. And she, Mabel, was alone again. She cried even harder. Go ahead and cry, Kevin said. You're no stranger to shedding tears. I'm tired of all this. He waved his hand dismissively at his wife and walked out into the yard. The man left and didn't return until the evening of the following day. Kevin, do I look like a fool? Mabel asked. Why are you saying that? Kevin was surprised. Because I am a fool. That's why I'm trying to forgive you and live with you. I can see that your affair with Pamela continues. You still live with her under the guise of business trips. And yesterday, you disappeared so suddenly. What am I supposed to do with you here? Watch you shed tears? I'm seeing Pamela, but I'm not leaving the family. What more do you want? You're not great in bed, and I'm a man, I need affection, Kevin said. Mabel listened to her husband's audacious speech and wondered how she had stooped to such humiliation. How had she allowed herself to be treated like this? All this vileness was happening with her silent consent. Kevin, go to your Pamela, leave forever. My patience has run out. I don't want to tolerate it anymore, I don't want to see you. There's nothing connecting us except the children. The children have grown up, they have their own lives. I have no reason to tolerate your behavior. I'll even pack your things, just leave, Mabel said. But how will we divide the house? Kevin asked. Well, this is my parents' house. I will file for divorce, Mabel replied. According to the law, I'm entitled to half of the house, Kevin stated. According to the law, yes. But what about conscience? Mabel questioned. I have also invested in it, Kevin defended himself. Kevin, remember that the house will belong to our children. Be a man, Mabel insisted. Fine, I'll sign my share over to Tyler. And I'll do it only if he treats me as a proper son, Kevin said. Are you planning to manipulate our son with the house? Mabel asked. That's it, divorce it is. Enough arguing, Kevin concluded. Merry Christmas, Mabel. Mabel heard over the phone. Accept my congratulations and best wishes. I wish you all the best. Please convey my wishes to Kevin too. Thank you, Gordon, Mabel said sadly. Kevin is gone, there's no one to convey wishes to. He left for Pamela, we're getting a divorce. Edna left too, celebrating Christmas with her fiancé. This will be the first time I'll be alone. And I'm alone too. Listen, Mabel, what if we spend the holiday together? Everyone else has someone, why should we be any different? Gordon suggested. Well, come over, Gordon. I've prepared everything out of habit, but there's no one to treat, Mabel replied. I'll come. In Gordon's mind, the words, "I love you, Mabel," were spinning. But he couldn't express it over the phone. Tonight, on this Christmas night, he would definitely tell Mabel about his feelings and convince her that her life is her own, and no one else's. On Christmas night, no one should be alone. She was a woman worth $1 million, and he was ready to prove it to her for the rest of his life. Of course, they would face difficulties, many people wouldn't understand them. But in the end, it was their life, and together they would overcome and live happily ever after. And if they were lucky, they would die on the same day because he didn't want to live without Mabel anymore. Mabel loved it when the land was covered with a fluffy blanket of snow for Christmas. It seemed to her that nature had marked a cycle known only to her, and now, the new year was beginning with a clean slate, leaving all the bad behind and offering only good things ahead. Today, Mabel didn't think that way. Today, she was sure that her good times were behind her, in memories, and now she felt a chill not from the cold in the house, but from loneliness. For the first time, Mabel was alone on this evening, completely alone. There used to be a big family, but now. Sounds of music and fireworks reached her from somewhere, while silence reigned in her house. She didn't even feel like turning on the TV. Tina and Edna used to love playing music loudly, and Mabel would protest and ask them to lower the volume, even just a little. Kevin would laugh and say, "Let their music blast, Mabel, it's a holiday after all." Remember when we were young, we also wanted to listen to our favorite songs loudly. The day before the holiday, Tyler would beg his father for money to buy firecrackers, and then on December 25th, he would spend the entire day shooting them in the yard. The phone kept ringing, and Christmas greetings poured in. Mabel was preparing, and the house was filled with such enticing aromas that everyone would peek into the kitchen and try to snatch something delicious. Kevin would go out to shovel the snow and come back with a rosy smile, embracing Mabel from behind as she hurried around the stove, and he would smell of frost and something achingly familiar. Happiness. That was happiness. And now, loneliness. Mabel looked out the window at the white blanket of snow. It no longer seemed like a clean slate to her, from which only good things would begin. She didn't even realize at first that the phone was ringing. She snapped out of her thoughts and hurried to answer the call. Thoughts raced through her mind. Is it Tina and Roberto calling, or Tyler? "Merry Christmas, Mabel." She heard Gordon's voice. Mabel had to tell Gordon about her divorce from Kevin and how lonely she was, especially during the holidays. Weekdays kept her busy, but during holidays, everyone was with their loved ones, while Mabel had no one beside her. "I love indulging," Gordon said, offering Mabel to celebrate New Year's together, and she was delighted. With this person, everything was always easy, and what seemed unsolvable and hopeless turned out to be simple. Gordon spoke to her. "Mabel, it's all very simple. The challenge lies in making that simple decision. And when you finally make it, you realize how much energy has been wasted." Those words from Gordon made her take a sober look at her relationship with Kevin, and she made up her mind to get a divorce. When he arrives, I'll thank him, Mabel thought, thank him for restoring my self-respect, for being there for me. "Hello again, Mabel," Gordon greeted her and presented her with roses, champagne, a cake, and a bag containing something. Mabel took out brightly colored knitted mittens and socks from the bag. "They're lovely," she exclaimed. "I'll definitely thank your mother with a return gift." "My mother worked so hard to finish knitting them for today," Gordon said. "She holds you in high regard, Mabel." The way he pronounced her name was particularly warm. Mabel was pleased with the gift and the roses, on which snowflakes were melting. "Thank you. Let's go to the table." "Did you make a wish?" Mabel joked. "I did," Gordon laughed. "Just let it try not to come true," he joked. "I'm so persistent that I'll make it happen." "And I haven't made a wish yet. I don't know what to wish for, I'm at a loss." "Mabel, I'll tell you your wish. Make a wish to marry me because I've wished to marry you." Mabel hadn't even sat down at the table and stood in front of Gordon, stunned and speechless at such a turn of events. Gordon opened the champagne, the cork popped, and the chimes rang out. "Merry Christmas, my love." Now that you're divorced, I have the right to tell you that I love you and want to spend the rest of my life only with you. Mabel took a sip of champagne from the glass but remained silent. No one had ever told her they loved her. Gordon's words made her throat tingle and her nose tingle. Tears welled up in her eyes, ready to burst out. Gordon approached Mabel, embraced her, and without giving the tears a chance, he kissed her eyes, her lips, and then held her tightly against himself and said, "I won't give you to anyone, and I won't let a single tear fall from your eyes, my beloved." Beloved is the most important word for a woman, and for Mabel, it was even more important because she had been unloved for so long. It's unclear how long they would have stood there, embracing each other, but the phone rang. "Merry Christmas." Mabel heard Tina's voice. "I wish you good health, Mom. I love you. Merry Christmas." Roberto shouted into the phone. Apparently, Roberto snatched the phone from Tina and, after wishing his mother-in-law well, asked, "Excuse me, do you happen to know how my relatives are doing? I've been calling my dad, but he's not picking up, and I'm worried." "Your dad is here. We're celebrating the holiday together. I'll pass the phone to him." "Daddy, how did you end up at Tina's mom's place?" "I came to Mabel because I wanted to celebrate the holiday only with her." "What?" Gordon heard Roberto's surprised voice. "That's right," the father replied. "Dad, is it what I'm thinking right now?" "I don't know what you're thinking." "Well, that you and Mabel are together?" "I'm sure we'll be together because I plan to propose to Mabel today. Of course, my hand isn't as strong anymore, and my heart sometimes falters, playing tricks, but I love Mabel and I won't back down." "Dad, that's strange." "Listen, my dear son, don't lecture me. Your arguments don't interest Mabel and me. Live your own life with Tina, and we'll live ours. And God forbid you cause Mabel any distress about this. Just try, and you'll have to deal with me." "Well, Dad, why are you attacking right away?" Roberto said. "I just said. We don't need to talk to Mabel about anything. We're going against everything and everyone, and we intend to be happy, for now," Gordon said and hung up the phone. Mabel looked at Gordon and smiled. "Yes, that's me," Gordon chuckled. "I won't let anyone harm you." Mabel sat down on the couch, clutching her stomach, and started laughing. "Why are you laughing, Mabel?" Gordon sat down next to her and started laughing too. "Why are you laughing?" Finally, Mabel calmed down and, looking into Gordon's eyes, said, "I just realized how much I love you. Oh God, how much I love you." The front door slammed shut. Mabel wasn't expecting anyone. Gordon wouldn't be back from work for another 2 hours, and Edna was going to the movies with her friends after her last class. Who could it be? She peeked out the window. Kevin was walking along the snow-cleared path, and when he saw Mabel at the window, he smiled and waved at her. Mabel didn't show any signs of greeting. She moved away from the window and sat on a chair. What does he want, she wondered. Her heart was pounding anxiously, and her temples throbbed. She tried to compose herself and not get nervous, but it was futile. It had been less than a month since they divorced. It seemed like all loose ends were tied up, and he had taken all his belongings. Why was he here? "Hello, Mabel," her ex-husband greeted as if nothing had happened. It was as if he still lived there and had dropped by for lunch. "Well, I was passing by and wanted to visit our daughter." "You should have called first." "Don't start. We're not strangers, we can do without a call." "We are strangers, Kevin. We have children together." He approached Mabel, who was sitting on the chair, and squatted in front of her. "Or have you forgotten about that?" He tried to embrace her knees, but Mabel, staring directly at him, whispered, "Take your hands off." Kevin seemed taken aback. He moved away from Mabel and looked at her sideways, saying, "Don't be angry, Mabel. It's just a habit. I can't imagine that you're not my wife anymore. Will you at least feed me out of old habit? Is this a dining room? Go eat where you live. Or do you think that out of old habit, Whenever you feel like it, you'll come here. You won't. You're not welcome here. Don't interfere with my life. Contact and meet our daughter on neutral ground. Why are you like this, Mabel? Why are you so angry? I came here with good intentions. I thought you would feed me and we could talk. I've talked enough with you. Everything has been discussed long ago, so I don't understand your actions. Either you say why you came or get out of my house. She looked at Kevin's tired, unshaven face, at the stretched out, unwashed sweater he was wearing. The feeling of pity she once had for him didn't awaken in her this time when she asked him to stay. Today, he was a stranger to her, someone who barged into her home without clear intentions. Mabel, please forgive me, Kevin began. I'm not happy about everything that happened either. You know what? I'm actually glad that you continued your affair with Pamela. I'm glad we broke up. You have no idea how much better off I am without you. And as for forgiveness, I forgave you once, but you didn't appreciate it. You probably thought that as long as you supposedly stayed in the family, you could see Pamela whenever you wanted, and I would turn a blind eye to it. You spent all those years with me and didn't know me. And you didn't even try to find out. You were satisfied with the domestic life with me while seeking love with her. Now you don't need to run to her anymore, live with her. Why do you need my forgiveness? Mabel, I'm miserable without you, without Edna. I'm miserable. And because of that, I should forgive you and... Let's start over. You'll see how different I'll be, you won't regret it. We've already started over. I forgave you once, and I regretted it. I won't make that mistake again. I called Tyler, asked him to help me get back to you. He promised to come. That's pointless. I'll be glad to see Tyler, but even he won't make me take you back. I'm getting married soon. You're trying to scare me off with that? Kevin smirked. Mabel, that's just funny. Who to? Kevin laughed, to some red-headed guy. You've made me laugh. I'm marrying a man who loves me, and whom I love. Mabel, it's not even funny. So many young and beautiful people around, and suddenly they love you. Did you make up this fairy tale for yourself? You know what I'll tell you. You're not stupid, so while I'm offering you to reunite and live together again, agree. I'm not asking twice. Get out, Mabel said quietly, get out of my house, out of my life. I like you even more when you're so defiant, Kevin teased. Kevin approached Mabel and hugged her. Mabel tried to push him away, but she didn't have the strength. She pushed, scratched, but he held her tighter. Oh wow, Kevin joked, you're like a wild cat. You're turning me on. Hey, back off. Kevin heard someone behind him. Amidst the noise and commotion with Mabel, he didn't hear Gordon enter the house. Don't interfere in the affairs of spouses, even if they're exes, Gordon calmly said and forcefully pushed Kevin away from Mabel. If I see you here again, don't be surprised. Don't get close to Mabel. You've lost this woman, it's better for you to forget her. Who are you, anyway? I'm her husband. Now, this is comedy. Kevin smirked. Who needs her? Mabel was crying. It hurt her to hear all of this. Oh, you bastard, don't you understand words? Do you only understand fists and strength? Gordon grabbed him and dragged him towards the exit. Let him put on his clothes, Mabel shouted after them. No need. Give me his jacket and shoes here, Gordon replied. Gordon dragged the half-naked, shoeless Kevin through the snow and threw him out the door along with his belongings. You won't leave here alive next time, Gordon said and closed the door. Kevin was getting dressed right at the gate of his ex-wife's house. The neighbor came out to shovel snow, saw the half-naked Kevin, and threw her hands up in surprise. Oh, why did he throw you out half-naked? You'll catch a cold in your manhood, and you won't be able to return to Mabel anymore. She's getting married. Kevin glared at the neighbor in anger. Now the old lady would tell the whole street how Gordon threw him out half-naked. He knew he shouldn't show up here again, everyone would know about this incident. It was a shame, of course, that he had lost Mabel. Kevin had never imagined that someone would vie for that woman. What did she have that he didn't? Kevin wanted to run away from her perpetually pouted lips, from empty pots with lids that Kevin would bang when he came home from work, from her insistent sex that he could no longer handle. That's why he ran to Mabel. But someone else had taken his place. Smiling Pamela opened the door for Kevin. "Hey, you're late today." It was evident that Pamela was in a good mood. "I reheated the pasta, but it's already cold. I've been waiting for you. Where have you been?" Out walking, Kevin was angry at himself, at Mabel, at Gordon, and at Pamela, but he unleashed his anger on Pamela now. "Where else could I be?" "At work." "Why are you so angry today?" Pamela hugged him. "We can improve your mood, and all we need is you, me, and the bed. All you ever think about is sex. I'm tired, I want to eat. All you care about is stuffing your face. Go eat, I'm not going to reheat the pasta 100 times. Warm it up yourself." Pamela got angry. "And why are you all wet?" "I slipped. There's black ice outside, it's winter, in case you hadn't noticed. Give me clean socks." "Well, maybe you should take a shower first." "I want to eat, then I'll shower. My feet got soaked." "But why are your shoes full of holes?" "They're not." "Then why are your feet wet?" "It's freezing outside, I noticed. My lover's husband caught me, I had to run through the snow in my socks." "You have stupid jokes. But you used to like them before. Before, you were different, and now I can't expect any tenderness from you or a kind word. What happened to us? We wanted to be together. Our dream came true, but something's not working." Kevin pulled on clean socks and hardly listened to what Pamela was saying. He knew that when she spoke like that, she wanted intimacy with him, but he didn't feel like it today. Not only was he tired from work, but there was also the awkward situation with Mabel. He hadn't even left her yet, and Gordon had already marked his territory there. Kevin had hoped to return to his family, only to find out that it was already taken. It made sense to Kevin, Mabel was clean, organized, and her children were grown, so there was no need to raise them. As a single man, he longed for comfort and homemade food, so he started paying attention to Mabel. And she blossomed, thinking that he loved her. Kevin's thoughts were now further spoiling his already bad mood. He walked into the kitchen. The cold skillet with pasta sat on the stove. Kevin turned on the gas under the skillet, waiting for his dinner to heat up, and immersed himself in his thoughts. Part of Mabel's house was no longer an option for him, there was nowhere for him to go, so he would have to live with Pamela for now. Tyler would come, influence Mabel, and he would return home where he had lived for so many years. Mabel loved her son very much, she would listen to him, and Tyler was his son, so she would be on his side. Kevin had always known that Tyler loved him more than Mabel did. And Edna loved him too. "Kevin. What's burning here?" Pamela rushed into the kitchen. The skillet with pasta was smoking. Pamela grabbed it and threw it into the sink under running water. "It seems you've already had dinner," Pamela said. "What's going on with you today?" "Yes, I'm tired." "Can't you understand that I'm just tired? The food got burnt, well, damn it. It's been the 3rd day of having pasta. How much longer can I eat them? I work in the cold, I want a simple homemade soup with meat. Is it really that hard to cook that? I think I give you enough money for us to come home from work and eat proper homemade food." "Why are you yelling? I work too, I'm not just sitting at home. You're not the only one getting tired, I get tired too. But Mabel always has food prepared. And she even works from home, she checks notebooks, prepares for tomorrow's lessons." "Well then, go to your precious Mabel. Why did you come running to me from such an exemplary wife?" "I was a fool." "Well, since you've become so clever, fix your own mistakes. Mabel will welcome you with open arms." Who needs her other than you? She's not a woman, just a gray moth. Pamela, you've inflated your peacock tail so much that only your beautiful tail is visible. And in your soul, there's nothing but anger and lust. There's emptiness behind it all. Don't think I'm a fool and don't understand that you're not getting any younger either. You're not in high demand by men anymore. So don't try to put on a performance for me. Control your temper. Oh, spare me the lectures. And don't compare me to Mabel. I don't compare you to Louis, do I? Why would I compare you to him? Louis completely went off the rails, not without our involvement. Do you think he didn't see how you came running to me? And he also found out that Carol isn't his daughter. Betrayal from all sides, anyone would drown in it. That's it. Enough arguing. Give me something to eat. Well, there's nothing, you burnt the pasta. Kevin couldn't take it anymore and started yelling at Pamela. If you don't feed me right now, I'll strangle you. You've pushed me to the limit. Kevin, calm down, Pamela said, frightened. I'll quickly fry some potatoes for you. Kevin ate the potatoes and asked Pamela, do we have anything to go with the potatoes? I want a pickled cucumber or a tomato. The potatoes are dry, I want something salty. We don't have anything, she replied. What, don't you make preserves? No. Oh, how terrible. What kind of woman are you? There's no magic coming from your hands. Everything is haphazard. I consider women who cook to be magicians. My mother is a masterpiece in that regard. She's a culinary master. It's simply miraculous. Mabel learned from her. Enough talking about Mabel to me. I might get offended. My hands aren't meant for cooking multi-course meals, they're meant for love, Pamela smiled. Stop getting offended. I've long understood that your hands and brains are only meant for that. Next time, at least salt some cabbage to go with the potatoes. I don't know how. Learn it. Ask women for recipes and learn. I don't hear what you said. Fine, I'll salt some cabbage for you. Tomorrow, I'll be busy with repairs. The car broke down. Prepare my repair items in advance. Start in the evening, I'll leave early so as not to wake you. Hurry up now. They're on the balcony. You brought them in last time and left them there, that's where they still are. Wait, you still haven't washed them? Kevin exclaimed. He couldn't get used to his careless partner's behavior. I'll bring them in from the balcony, they'll warm up by morning. So what? Yes, I didn't wash them. Why are you looking at me like that? You could have washed them yourself, I forgot about them. I'm looking at you, what am I supposed to do with you? I should give you a slap so that a bruise under your eye would remind you when you forget about things. Just try it. Just try it. I'll call the police. Pamela shrieked. Stop yelling, go and wash them, and hang them on the radiator. How can I wear them unwashed? Reluctantly, Pamela went to wash Kevin's clothes, and when she came to bed, he was fast asleep. She woke him up with her kisses and demanded affection. Did I wash your rags for nothing, fry potatoes, and endure your reproaches? Haven't I deserved attention and affection? Kevin, wake up, I'll give you some love, everything will work out for you. He was tired of obligatory sex. But if he ignored Pamela's request now, her pouting lips would be guaranteed for a whole week. Let's make it quick, Kevin said. We have to get up early tomorrow. No, I want it to be long and beautiful, not just once. A taxi pulled up to Mabel's house. Taxis rarely entered this narrow lane. Who were these important people arriving at Mabel's house? A tall, strong young man, a pregnant woman, and a 4-year-old boy stepped out of the car. As soon as the little boy jumped out of the car, he began making snowballs and gleefully throwing them at the man. The man hugged the woman, laughed, and shielded her from the boy's snowballs. It was clear that they were a family, a happy family. They made their way towards Mabel's house, and a neighbor stopped them. There's no one home, you'll have to wait, the neighbor said. I'm sorry, don't you recognize me? The young man replied. The old woman shielded her eyes from the bright sunlight and exclaimed, Tyler. Is that you? Have you come? Yes, it's me. I've missed my family. Tyler replied. You handsome. A real man, the old woman said. Tyler stood there, looking at the neighbor and smiling. Do you remember when I used to chase you and the boys away when you stole apples? My, how time flies. And who is this girl with you? The neighbor asked. This is my wife. And next to her is my son. We're also expecting another addition to the family, Tyler explained. What a beautiful wife. You must be quite the charmer, Tyler, from what I can see. Is she not your father's daughter? The neighbor mischievously smiled and said, Come on, take a good look at me. Tyler approached the neighbor and embraced her. No, you resemble Mabel. And your eyes are as beautiful as Mabel's. That's good. Because your father is causing such havoc here, the neighbor commented. Tyler was ready to leave, he didn't want to listen to gossip about his father. But the neighbor held onto his hand and continued her tirade. Wait, listen to me. We're tired from the journey, Tyler replied. Don't worry, you're young, I won't keep you for long. So, your father got involved with your godmother. He left Mabel for her. We thought your mother would go crazy. She lost weight and started hiding from people. But before Tina got married, Mabel forgave that fool. Mabel never complained to anyone about it. I know this information from other people. Now she lives with another man. He's good and loves her. But your father keeps coming around, only causing her more stress. The neighbor wanted to tell Tyler about how Gordon threw Kevin out of the house, but then she realized it would hurt his son's feelings. He might hold a grudge against Gordon, so she decided not to mention that shameful incident with Kevin. Don't interfere with your mother's happiness. She has suffered enough. Let her be happy. It's not worth trying to bring your parents' love back. All right, we'll figure it out. Thank you. The childhood home is a place where the soul softens, where memories are only good, and the scent of home tickles the nose, making the heart race and tears well up. Tyler sat on the couch and cried. Tyler, what's the matter? His wife embraced him. Unpleasant news, I understand. It's not because of that. Memories just overwhelmed me. I remembered my mom, young and beautiful, how she walked me to school on my first day of first grade. I was carrying a bouquet of flowers. I remembered my dad behind the wheel, smiling, then getting out of the car, lifting me up, giving me a kiss, laughing, and then putting me behind the wheel and telling me to drive. Tyler cried even harder, shaking his head to wipe away the tears. But the tears kept rolling, and Tyler couldn't stop them. I love both my dad and mom. What do I do now? How do I choose between them? I can't believe this is happening to me, to my parents. Life is full of surprises, Tyler. Your mom will be here soon, you need to calm down. What should we do now? Can it be fixed? I don't know. I don't want them to divorce. You know, I can't separate them in my heart. It hurts for both my dad and my mom. I feel sorry for both of them. Suddenly, their son approached. Don't cry, Dad, don't cry. Do you want me to give you my favorite toy car that Mom gave me as a gift? He said. Tyler smiled at the boy through his tears, buried his face in his blonde-haired head, and said, I won't cry, son. Thank you for the toy car, but it's your gift. Thank you. I will never abandon you. Never. Tyler embraced his son and wife. And we won't leave you, Dad, you'll see, the son promised. My dears. Mabel cried and laughed, hugging each of her relatives in turn. I'm so glad you could come, Tyler. Mabel smiled as she looked at her son. You're so handsome, my boy. What kind? Tyler smiled in response. Tall, strong, just like your father in his youth. But still, you're my son, resembling me, Mabel said proudly. But haven't you eaten anything? Did you really fear taking charge of the kitchen? No, Tyler said. We fed our son, and my wife is constantly eating now, he said, patting his wife's stomach. I wanted to wait for you and Edna, and then have a feast. Tyler reached into his travel bag and pulled out a small box. I'm not sure if this gift suits you, Mom, but here it is. It's for you. Oh, these are French perfumes, terribly expensive and terribly fashionable. Thank you, my children. Of course, I love them. I never even dreamed of having such. But they're very expensive, you need the money yourselves, and you're about to have a baby, Mabel smiled. It's all right, Tyler said. We'll earn more. The front door slammed shut, and Tyler said, It's probably Edna running to us. No, Mabel said and blinked guiltily. It's Gordon. Mabel's heart was pounding, and she felt as though everyone could hear how loudly it was beating. How would Tyler react to their love? What would he say? Good evening, Gordon greeted everyone and extended his hand to Tyler. In Mabel's eyes, there was fear and confusion. She was afraid that Tyler wouldn't shake Gordon's hand. Tyler felt sorry for these mature, self-sufficient individuals whose happiness also depended on him. He especially felt sorry for his mother. He reached out his hand to Gordon. His father-in-law introduced himself, and the men shook hands. Tyler felt his mother let out a relieved sigh and wearily rest her head on his chest. Then Edna rushed over, hung onto her brother's neck, and didn't leave his side for the entire evening. The whole family sat down at the table and celebrated Tyler's arrival. Everyone was joyful and cheerful. Tyler's son had already settled in and sat on Gordon's lap. Tyler felt a pang of jealousy. The little one could have been sitting on his own grandfather's lap, who wasn't present at the table right now, whispering his secrets in his ear and laughing boisterously, just as he was laughing in Gordon's arms, a stranger, essentially. But at the same time, Tyler saw how happy his mother was next to this man. He couldn't bring himself to ruin it all. Gordon and I are planning to get married, Mabel told her son when they were alone in the kitchen. They were left alone, understanding that her son needed to talk to his mother. Mabel was washing dishes and said it, afraid to look into her son's eyes, as if she had committed some kind of betrayal, as if she was at fault for everything that had happened. Mom, leave the dishes, Tyler said, sit down, let's talk. Mabel sat next to her son but couldn't look at him, as if she was awaiting a verdict. Mom, is it true that Dad was with Pamela throughout your entire life together? It's true, Mabel replied, still not lifting her gaze. He left for her, and you forgave him? Yes. They didn't tell you. I forbade everyone from informing you, I was afraid for you, my son. Mabel looked up at her son with teary eyes. Mom, don't cry, Tyler embraced her, there's no need to cry. I understand that it hurts you. And it hurts me too. I didn't expect that from Dad, but I still love him. No matter who he is, I still love you and him the same. He made a mistake, of course, but that doesn't make him any less dear to me. And what about Gordon? It was thanks to him that I endured all those humiliations. I didn't want to live, Tyler. I don't want to burden you, my son, with all the filth that your father inflicted on me. Even now, he can't leave me alone. He comes here and insults me, even though we're already divorced. Talk to him, my son, so he stops doing this. I will talk to him, Mom. I will talk to him, don't worry. Tomorrow, I'll go to him and discuss everything. Tyler decided to go to his father alone, without his family. It was unknown how his father's new life would accept him, how Pamela would treat him. Back when he was a boy, Aunt Pamela used to come visit them, always hugging him tightly, giving him candies. Hey, handsome, she said and, as always, embraced Tyler. There's a blizzard outside. I was afraid I wouldn't find my way home in such a storm. So, I asked your dad to give me a ride. When they arrived at Aunt Pamela's house, his father stepped out of the car with her, and in the car's mirror, Tyler saw Aunt Pamela adjust his father's scarf, and he kissed her. It felt as if his heart had stopped. He felt so disgusted, as if he was spying on his father and Aunt Pamela. It seemed like everyone in the vicinity could see his father kissing Pamela. His father hopped back into the car, and they drove off. "Now we're heading home," his father said cheerfully. Tyler remained silent. "Tyler, why are you so upset?" his father asked. His father wanted to pat him on the shoulder, but Tyler shrugged off his hand. "What's the matter, son?" his father asked in surprise. "Are you feeling unwell?" He then placed his rough, cold palm on Tyler's forehead. "I'm not sick," Tyler said angrily, pushing his father's hand away. "I saw you kissing Aunt Pamela." His father blushed deeply and said, "It was just a friendly kiss. Aunt Pamela and Uncle Louis are our friends. There's nothing more to it," he justified himself. "What have you imagined, son? But you don't kiss Uncle Louis like that." "Tyler, I promise you it was just a friendly kiss. Don't get upset, son, and don't talk about it to anyone. Otherwise, everyone will think wrongly." "Dad, you gave me your honest word, a man's word, which means you only love Mom and Aunt Pamela is just a friend?" "Of course, son. How could you think otherwise? I only love Mom." And then Tyler believed his father because an honest man's word is only given by true men, and his father was one of them. Now he understood what an honest word meant to his father. It meant nothing. Aunt Pamela opened the door. "Hello, handsome. You're here. Come in," she said. "Hello." Tyler handed Pamela a bouquet. He really didn't want to give flowers to this woman, but his upbringing didn't allow him to visit empty-handed. "Is Dad home?" "Kevin," Pamela called out. "Come here. Our handsome boy has arrived." "Tyler. Tyler, my boy." Kevin rushed into his son's arms. Tyler embraced his father and noticed how much he had changed. His father had become thinner, most of his hair had turned gray, his shoulders slumped, and his face was lined with fine wrinkles. His father had aged. While his mother had hardly changed, his father had noticeably transformed. "Well, come into the living room," Pamela said. The men sat on the couch. Tyler didn't let go of his father in his embrace. They sat there, holding each other. "Son, I'm so glad you came. I miss you so much. Are you here for a long time?" "For 2 weeks. Your mother must be very happy." "Yes, she's happy, Dad. You'll become a grandfather soon." "I'll become a grandfather?" Kevin smiled. Once again, he realized how many mistakes he had made. If he were with Mabel now, they would be celebrating the arrival of their son and his family together, looking forward to the imminent arrival of their grandchild. After all, he and Mabel had children together. "Pamela, could you prepare something for the table? Our son doesn't come every day." "But we don't have anything. We only have soup, just as you've been craving," Pamela replied. "It's okay, I don't need anything," Tyler said. "I'm not hungry." Kevin blushed. It was evident from his demeanor that he wished the ground would swallow him up for Pamela's words. "Well, at least offer him some tea as a guest," he said. Reluctantly, Pamela went to the kitchen. "Dad, here's a gift for you," Tyler said, pulling out a blue sports bag. From it, he took out a lightweight, down-filled jacket that was as light as a feather. "It's a finished jacket, light and warm. It might be a little big for you since you've lost weight." "Thank you, my son. Finally, I received gifts from my children." Kevin hugged his son and shed tears, deeply moved. "Try it on, Dad, feel how warm and light it is." Kevin obediently put on the jacket, and Pamela entered the room with the tea. "What's this beauty?" She nodded at Kevin in his new jacket. "It's a finished down jacket," Tyler said. "It's a gift for Dad. It's too big for him. Come on, take it off." Let me try it on. Kevin obediently took off the jacket and handed it to Pamela. She put it on and rushed to the hallway to look at herself in the mirror. This jacket fits me perfectly. Thank you, Tyler, for the gift. It's too big for Dad, but I'll wear it since he already has a jacket. But it's a men's jacket, Tyler said, bewildered by Pamela's audacity. Does it say anywhere that it's a men's jacket? It has a zipper, so I'll happily wear it. I need a jacket. I was planning to buy something for myself in the spring. Take off the jacket and give it to Dad, Tyler said, almost threateningly. It's a gift for him, not for you. How dare you speak to me like that in my own home, handsome? Pamela protested. It was evident that a confrontation was brewing. God forbid I find out that you took the jacket from Dad, Tyler warned. What a terrible upbringing you have. Pamela yelled. Tyler and his father were sitting in a restaurant. They reminisced about all the good times they had together before Tyler enlisted in the army. His father laughed, but fear, sadness, and hopelessness were hidden in his eyes. Tyler couldn't hide that from his father. He felt sorry for him. He watched as his father eagerly consumed the steak with fried potatoes, realizing that Pamela didn't spoil him with food. Tyler called the waiter over and ordered 2 more schnitzels for his father. No need, Tyler, it's expensive. I'm already full, his father said. Go ahead, Dad, we're not leaving yet, are we? We're not, his father smiled wearily. Tyler, is it true that your mother is getting married? She is, Tyler replied briefly. It's a shame, Kevin sighed. I hope that you would come and convince her to forgive me. I can't, Tyler sadly replied. I'm sorry, Dad. I also had hoped that everything could be fixed. But it's beyond repair now. Tyler, Kevin cried, but they say as long as we're alive, we can fix anything, right? Not in this case. Mom loves someone else, and we're powerless here. I have no right to interfere in her relationship with Gordon. You have the right, son, Kevin urged. You're our son, tell her that you're against their marriage, and she won't want to lose you, so she'll listen. Dad, that's manipulative, playing with people's emotions. No, Dad, I won't do that. For me, Tyler, for me, would you do it? Ask me anything else, but not this. Are you asking me to choose between you and Mom? Understand, Dad, both you and Mom are equally dear to me, so figure this out yourselves and make your own decisions. It's not for me to teach you how to live. Hello, hello. Who is this? Pamela shouted into the phone. Mabel, wait, don't hang up. Is Tyler home? What happened? Mabel got scared. Tyler is not here. They went out for a walk with the family. But didn't he tell you about what he and Kevin did here yesterday? I was about to call the police to calm him down. Mabel was shaken. Tyler hadn't told her anything about it, only saying that he had talked to his father and he promised not to bother Mabel, not to cause any more scandals. He mentioned that they had gone to a restaurant and both his father and Tyler were happy about the meeting. Pamela, what happened? Tell me, I'll pass it on to Tyler. After the restaurant, Kevin started feeling unwell. I called an ambulance, and they took him. He's in the hospital. He had a stroke. I wanted to thank your son, but he drove his father to this. Pamela hung up the phone. Mabel's legs gave way, and she sat down on the couch. If something serious happened to Kevin, she would only blame herself. Why did she allow Tyler to go to Pamela's house? It would have been better if Kevin had come here. They would have met here with Tyler. But it had already happened, and now she shouldn't panic and do something about it. First, Mabel took some calming drops, and when she had calmed down a bit, she called Pamela. Pamela, you didn't say which hospital Kevin is in. At the second one. Pamela snapped and hung up. Tyler returned with his family, happy after their walk, and their Mabel ruined everything with the news from Pamela. Tyler, your father is in the hospital, he had a stroke. What happened yesterday with you over there? Pamela was shouting and threatening the police. Don't worry, Mom, there won't be any police involved. I didn't do anything to attract their attention. I just stood up against that woman's audacity, if she can even be called a woman. Let's stay calm, I'll go to the hospital right away. Tyler got dressed and left. Mabel ran after her son and, unable to bear the tension, burst into tears. It's cold, Mom, go inside. Don't cry, you'll catch a cold. Mabel crossed herself as her son walked out of the house, then she returned inside, sat by the window, and waited for Tyler to come back. Dad, what's gotten into you, getting sick like this? Tyler asked cheerfully and hugged his father. Come on, we're strong men, you'll recover. Who will spoil the grandchildren? Kevin weakly smiled at his son and stuttered in response. I'll try, son. Forgive me, Father, it's all because of me. I couldn't hold back. It's not because of you, Tyler. It's all because of me. As soon as I heard that your mother was getting married, that was it. I realized I let my life go to waste. I realized I lost her. I have no life with Pamela. You've seen for yourself what my life is like. Nothing connects us, we constantly have scandals. It would have been better if I, son, had died right away. Dad, why are you saying such things? I know what I'm saying. There is no joy. She left when I left your mother. Tyler, you know happiness lies in the little things, Kevin sadly smiled. Now I live in the past, remembering how easy and peaceful life was with Mabel. My mother used to say there's no one like Mabel. Tyler, we consider ourselves smarter than our parents and often brush off their words, don't listen to them, make mistakes that can be irreparable. Well, that's what happened to me. Let me tell you, son, cherish your family, cherish what you have, don't repeat my mistakes, listen to me as your father. I didn't listen to my mother, so listen to me. Don't worry so much, Dad, Tyler replied. I hear you. I spoke to the doctor. He promised that everything will normalize, but we have to fight, Dad, not give up. There's no need for me, Tyler, to fight. But since I didn't die, I have to recover, so as not to be a burden to Pamela. The nurse arrived with an 4-drip and asked the outsiders to leave. Kevin lay under the 4-drip, reminiscing about his life with Mabel. Tyler asked who would spoil their grandchildren. And he remembered how he spoiled his own children. Tyler and his daughters would ask him for money, Tina and Edna for outfits, Tyler for trendy sneakers or something else. He never refused them. He watched his daughters twirl in front of the mirror, delighting in their new boots or dresses, and he saw Tyler's joy. He was happy for them, even in the little things. It made him happy too. Their family never had the kind of scandals that tore households apart. Mabel was always calm, and the children never witnessed their arguments. But who raised the children? It was Mabel. He was often away on business trips or lounging in Pamela's bed while Mabel raised the kids on her own, never once blaming him. Oh, what wonderful children she raised. They were a true source of pride for their parents. How is he? What's happening there? Mabel worriedly asked. He's conscious, just stuttering a bit. The doctor hasn't given any predictions yet, it's still unstable, came the reply. In the evening of the following day, Pamela called and asked for Tyler. She began shouting, "You've ruined your father, haven't you? I spoke to the doctor, and he said your father is now disabled. But what do I need him for? I'm not going to take care of him. He lived his life with you, worked for you, brought you money, and now you've dumped him on me, old and sick. Well, handsome, I don't need your sick father. I won't bring him home from the hospital. You deal with him," and Pamela hung up the phone. Why did she call? Mabel worriedly asked. She said she doesn't want a sick father, and she won't bring him home from the hospital, Tyler replied. Mabel was shocked by this news. We'll bring Tyler here, Gordon said, but what do we do? Where does he go? It seems he's not on good terms with his sister. Everyone looked at him, imagining the situation unfolding in their own minds. How will that look? Mabel asked. 2 husbands, and I'm alone? It's ridiculous. Tyler envisioned the sight of his already crushed father witnessing his mother building her happiness with Gordon, and he knew it would only crush him further. No, Tyler said, we can't do that. Tyler, let's bring him with us, Tyler's wife suggested. It's okay, we'll make room, and soon you'll get a new apartment. I think this option is the best for everyone. I'll take a leave of absence from work. I'll take care of him, and he'll slowly recover with our help. No one expected such a proposal, not even Tyler. Gratitude welled up in Tyler's throat. He hugged his wife and whispered in her ear, "Thank you, my dear, thank you, my love." At the train station platform, everyone bid farewell to Tyler, his family, and Kevin. Gordon had decided not to come to the station, and Mabel was grateful for that. Gordon had a sense of tact, and he always knew what was right. It was right for Mabel to personally see off her son and her ex-husband. Kevin was now able to sit, and he sat in the train car, gazing out the window at his beloved family kissing and embracing each other. Edna rushed into the car, hugged her father, kissed his unshaven cheek, and asked, "Dad, write to me, call me. I'll be waiting, and come to our wedding in May. Do you hear me, Dad?" "I hear you, Edna. I will write, call, and definitely come. I'm so glad that Tyler and his wife are taking me with them. Edna, I will definitely get back on my feet and live for you all. I'll help spoil the grandchildren." "My dear," Kevin cried, deeply moved, "do you believe me, Edna?" "I've always known that, Dad." "Just live, please, for us," Edna said. Edna ran to the platform, and Kevin blew a kiss on the train window. The window fogged up, and he wrote with his finger, "Forgive me, Mabel," and tapped on the window. Everyone turned and read what Kevin had written. Mabel smiled at Kevin and nodded her head. Kevin looked at Mabel and thought, how could he lose such a woman? She's one of a kind. The train gained speed and carried away a part of Mabel's soul, a part of her past. When Mabel saw the ailing Kevin in the train window, she felt sorry for him once again, just as she did when he came crushed from Pamela, and she asked him to stay. She realized that she had finally forgiven him, but her heart belonged only to Gordon. Her loving and faithful husband was waiting for her at home.
An amazing story, isn't it? Thank you for listening till the end. I sincerely hope that you truly enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and rate this video. See you in the comments and in new releases.